Good morning. So, they just came running. I'm super excited about this day. Today's Friday. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning, out with the dogs. So, what I really wanted to talk about was ego, about mastering your ego. And I've listened to a lot of videos about ego death, and I get what they're talking about, but really it's not killing your ego. It's more like overcoming your ego or mastering your ego, because your ego is integrated part of you and part of this experience. It's like your master tool. It's what gives you the sense of I, the sense of separation. So your ego is a good thing. It's what holds you in apart. It's what keeps you alive and what protects you, and what makes you have automatic responses like um, there's the fight, flight, or freeze um, mechanism, and that all sits in the ego. And the sense that your ego is what keeps you alive, is what keeps you in this experience. Otherwise, if we truly all the time were completely aware of what we are, that we're just a part of the all, we're just a part of everything, there would be no meaning to anything, so there would be no expansion. And what I was meditating this morning, and some thoughts came to me about the ego, about putting focus on when you there is no shame in anything as long as you are willing and wanting to expand and wanting to learn. Now, a lot of times our ego, what it wants to do is it wants to protect us. It wants to protect our belief system. We have these beliefs that we've believed our whole life, and it becomes like our ego becomes protective of us. Its nature is to protect you from the outside, or to keep you safe. And part of it is keeping your thoughts safe, keeping it's protecting you from harm. And when you have beliefs that are beliefs that you have always believed. What is a belief? It is a belief that it is the thought that you continuously think. And it's a thought that becomes so, as you continuously think it and you put it in your belief system, to where you don't ever take it out and reaffirm it. Many of us, you get stuck in your ways. Your belief is your belief, and that's it. It starts solidifying like into stone, especially the beliefs that we build our whole life around, beliefs of who we are, what our place is in the world. Beliefs on the one that I'm working on a lot is, money. If it's difficult, or if life is difficult, or if life is easy, or all of those questions, all of those things that we are taught. Um, Even if not outwardly taught, we're taught in our upbringing, by example, by the homes that we were raised in, how people acted according to. Most of the things that we are taught is not by word of mouth. It's more like examples that we were raised into, ways of being. And it's so far in our nature, the beliefs are so inset that we don't even realize that they're there. We're just on automatic mode. And our ego wants to protect us and to, be right. And so whenever we hit up against something out in the outer world that conflicts, that is in contrast to what our inner beliefs are, whether we're aware of our inner beliefs or not, part of the waking up and the spiritual awakening is, you go all the way down to your core and you shake all of your beliefs up and you reassess everything. And a lot of times we can't even those real core beliefs that we have, they're the most difficult to even find and to jar loose from, they're like in there in our being so far like rooted in that we don't even know that they're there. It's like it's a part of us, but it's not. Our true nature is just a being, just a consciousness, just a pure soul. Um, we have by our true nature, there are no catch ups. It's just everything is, and we're in the natural flow and in sync with nature. Whenever we have places that we continuously hit up against and are frustrated in, that we can't, that we keep on going over these loops again and again and again, and we just can't, that makes us mad. These are places that we're stuck. These are places that our beliefs aren't allowing us to be accepting of other ways or of other beliefs, and it's our ego protecting these beliefs that are in us, um, because our ego is protecting the I am. The ego is what is our identity, our separateness from our what we believe is our identity. So one of the things I was thinking this morning is that there is no shame in anything. Really, there is no shame. Um, I have a phone call, so I'm going to have to get it. So it was my son calling me to tell me thank you for this morning. That's so nice. So our ego is um, like our protector. It's what makes us run when there's a lion, because it wants to keep us alive. It's our protector. And the thing is that if we don't master our ego in its automatic state of being and what it's built to do, it's like a mechanism that is made to protect us. And when we don't know what our ego is and we don't master our ego takes over. And then we believe that we are our ego. It's an illusion. And then with people that have their egos get way out of whack, and they become huge, massive egos. Those are the kind of people that think that they know everything and that you can't. They don't learn. They quit learning. When you quit listening and you quit being curious and you think that you know everything, when what happens is when somebody comes up and brings something to you that goes against your belief system, you start fighting it and you start pushing the idea away instead of listening. And maybe I mean, if you are a self-thinking, realized person, and everything that is in your belief system is there because you have thought it through and you embrace it and you want it there, then nothing outside of you can jar that or get you upset or hurt your feelings if you're if you're in complete mastery of your ego. And what happens with a lot of people that I have in my life, that I've had in my life, is that they get so set in their beliefs that they are not willing to hear anything that contradicts their belief. It's like it's mayim. It's like it threatens their belief system. Now, if your belief system is strong, nothing threatens it. And also, if you are a person that is a truth seeking person, a person that wants to grow spiritually and wants to better themselves, then you are willing to listen to all different aspects and then make up your mind and be completely fluid. So your belief system becomes fluid and interchangeable and gamish. What is the word? It's like it becomes flexible. You become flexible. And then you are willing to hear anybody's opinions It doesn't threaten your own opinion. And then you can become, um, and then you can self master yourself and decide for yourself what you put into your belief system and what you don't. And there is no shame in anything. The only shame is, it's like people fight to be right. So they'll get into an argument just for the sake of proving their point to this other person. First of all, that's weakness. If you have to prove yourself to somebody else to be worthy, then that's already showing weakness. And and also I see people just fighting for their truth and not even willing to listen, especially when it comes to religion or when it comes to like beliefs on that in that plane. Um, they think that they're right. And they're not willing to even listen or taint themselves with another thought that might contradict their own thought. And they're so fighting to be right that they're not listening, and they won't hear, and they won't be open to any other perspective or any other idea that contradicts with their own. And what it does is it hinders their expansion. So it limits what they know to what they already know. And so when you are like that, when you're so egotistical, your ego has gotten control over you and is bigger than you become like that. You start solidifying, and then there's nothing that can come in. When you think that you already know everything and you already have your beliefs set in stone, and you're not willing to listen to anything that contradicts your belief, then you close yourself off for new knowledge. And I was thinking, and a lot of it is just the wanting to be right. You have to prove yourself right. I've seen so many people just arguing just for the sake of being right, to prove to the other person that they're wrong and I'm right. And in doing that, first of all, um, they're doing it because they feel like there's shame in being wrong. Where what I was thinking, and I've had this thought many times, that there is no shame in being wrong. There's only shame in sticking to being wrong. I mean, we're all learning, and we all have thoughts and ideas that are based in ideas that aren't even ours, that we grew up in, society based, depending on who our parents are, what religion they're from, what their belief system is. A lot of the beliefs that we have are just adopted beliefs. Most of the core beliefs that we have are adopted beliefs. And as humanity, we're so far away from our source, which is Mother Nature, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, we're disconnected from where our food comes from. If you ask this generation, my generation even, that many of them don't even know what seasons what fruit grow in. We're so far disconnected from nature. We walk around with plastic covering our feet so we don't touch the ground. We're always in the air. So, and we don't grow our own food. We go into the market and buy meat and eggs and have no idea how that animal was treated, who that animal was. It's not personal. And we don't know the pain that animal, we know, we as an industry, we know that there's a lot of pain that the animals go through, because it's just become like factory. We've taken these lives of animals and made them into like we're um, made them into factories, baby factories. And these are lives. They have emotions. There's cows that they raise down here in the valley, and I go on my morning walks, and I can tell when they took the calves away from the mamas, because the mamas are down there crying. You can just hear them just crying and crying and crying, and I know that the night before they took the calves. I mean, these animals have emotions, and we're exploiting them and eating them and using them for their milk and for their offspring. It's just, and the chickens. I once worked in a chicken coop, And the chickens are in cages that are like this. They're like this so that when they lay an egg, the egg will roll. But the chickens are stuffed in these cages like this, and there's like 3 or 4 of them in a cage. And they're small little cages. They can barely move. They have this little thing with water and with food that they can peck. And the chickens have a pecking system, right? So they have like a clout system. There's one on the top that can peck all 3 of the other ones. And then there's the one under that that can peck the 2 under. And then there's one under that that can peck the 1. And so there's one chicken in there that's getting pecked by all the chickens and that doesn't peck anybody. And a lot of times, what they do in the morning is they go through the chicken coop and they just go in there and they take out all the dead chickens. But the chickens are in these coops that are like this so that the eggs will roll down, and they're constantly like and it's on the bottom, it's wire, right? So they don't, it's not like they have their feet are constantly on this coop, but it's like it's straight lines like that. And so they're constantly moving their feet trying to get to solid ground, so they're constantly climbing, trying to climb because they're slipping down. It's it's horrific. It's horrific. And that's their whole life. And forget about the males. The males that are born, a lot of them, the ones that aren't raised, when they are raising chickens just for eggs, and the ones that they don't raise for meat, they take the males and they just throw them in a machine that just ugh, alive, in a machine that just makes them into mush. It's horrible. I know that not all places do that, but I've seen. And I mean, who wants that in their body? These chickens that are held hostage and in fear and in misery, and they're eating only one kind of, they're eating all these hormones to make their chicken eggs. I eat the chicken eggs from the chickens in the yard. The chicken eggs in the yard are about half the size as the store-bought chicken eggs, because they feed those chickens all these hormones and all this, and this, they don't have, the chickens love to eat fresh things. They'll go around and they pick, they eat greens, and in those chicken coops, all they get is grain, and it's like this grain that's mixed in with all whatever it takes to make their eggs really big. It's like we industrialized life. We're playing God, and we're not very good at it either, because God made heaven on earth. He made diversity. He made beauty. That is not beautiful. And who wants all that misery in their body? Those eggs are coming from pure misery. So, getting back onto subject, the there is no shame in being wrong, as long as we are trying to make ourselves better and correct ourselves, as long as we keep our belief system flexible and our minds flexible, so that we can move with change, because change is inevitable. We're always changing, and everything is always in movement. And if we try to take a thought and solidify it, we're going against movement. We're going against nature. We are not expanding. We're taking what we already know and making it into stone. And especially if our egos get so out of hand that every time we hear anything that comes up against that belief system that we have, anything that we hear, something that contradicts what we believe, we fight against it to be right, like there's some kind of, I don't know, some kind of magnificence in being right. I mean, what's the difference? The only shame, there is no shame in being wrong. There is no shame as long as you are willing to change, as long as you are willing, as long as you are a truth seeker and you're seeking for truth, and you're willing to listen, and you're willing to adjust yourself to new truths. There is no shame in being wrong. What is the shame in being wrong? We're all wrong in so many different ways. That's this expansion. That's this. The only shame is being wrong and fighting not to change it, trying to beat down the other person's belief so that I can hold on to my belief, whether, regardless if their belief is right or not. It's just for the sake of being right. And when you move into a perspective that you are a truth seeker and that what you really want is expansion, you start getting curious. You start wanting to hear other people's opinions. You start wanting to find places in you to correct. Um, it becomes like, I want to say almost like an addiction, because an addiction doesn't have to be a bad thing. It becomes something that, if it's something that empowers you in that way, it's only when it becomes something that you are dependent on, that it becomes like you start searching out ways to grow, because your growth feels so good. It feels so good to find a belief. And so when you shift into that way of thinking, first of all, it's self mastery, because you're mastering your ego. It becomes to where it's not painful anymore to be proven wrong. It's exactly the opposite. You get excited because now you have a new truth that you can work with, that you can, whenever you find a new truth, it opens up to you in so many different ways in your life. It can be painful, because change is painful. And a lot of these core beliefs that we've believed from when we were tiny children, we've based a lot of our life on them, and a lot of our behaviors sit on them. And that can be like, it's like intricate work. You have to really go in and pay attention to your actions. And so really um, you have to become super aware of where your thoughts and why you behave the way that you do. And it's self discipline. It takes a lot of self discipline. uh, when you get on the spiritual journey and the spiritual rising and spiritual enlightenment and this waking up process, you can still see, you also see the places that you're not in sync, because the places that you're not in sync keep coming back at you. They keep coming back at you because you continuously act out of sync. There is no other way. Of course, it'll keep coming back at you. That's why I say you have infinite opportunities to change. Because when you are out of whack, when one of your beliefs in your core belief system is not completely aligned and not fluid, then it is going to rub up against the world again and again and again and again and again. It's going to come up in different places with the different people. It's just like when they say, if you when you get out of one toxic relationship, as people that you see get out of one toxic relationship, get right back into like the same rhythm, or the same kind of relationship, the same toxic. You see them do it over and over and over, because their behaviors, they haven't changed anything in themselves and their belief system. They're still attracted to the same lessons. It's like you're being attracted to yourself. It's like you're being attracted to the lesson that you need until you get the lesson. And so really the only shame there is fighting with your ego to be right, as fighting when you're wrong to be right, trying to prove to somebody something that is incorrect, or in your own belief system. I think that in any case, saying your opinion is a good, but fighting for your opinion is obsolete. There's absolutely no reason for it. If you have to fight, first of all, if somebody wants to take it, they can take it. If they don't, they're not going to take it from you. Especially not if you're trying. What happens when somebody tries to shove something down your throat, you become offensive. You start becoming defensive. You start not wanting it. So you're getting the exact opposite effect than you want to get. Whereas if you just take your truth and you lay it out on the table, and whoever wants to grow and whoever is doing their own self work will come and pick it up and inspect it and take a look at it and see where it applies to them. Somebody that is fighting for their truth is not open for change. Somebody that is fighting to be right it's like a lost cause, right? Somebody has to be ready and willing and wanting to expand in order to be flexible of mind to change their beliefs. And you're not going to make them change it by fighting with them or by trying to force them to believe what you believe. Now, I'm not saying just to, if you have a truth and you put it out on the table, then that's a good thing. You're being in your expression, you're helping another person expand. But it's just that there is no reason to, when stand strong in your own truth, there's no reason to force another to believe it. There, if your truth isn't, if you don't feel, miyam again, it's the same word, threatened. When you're strong in your beliefs aren't threatened by other people's beliefs. And when you are flexible of mind and willing to hear other people's opinions in order to change yourself if you are living in error, then you're not threatened by other people's opinions. It's exactly the opposite. You want to hear other people's opinions so that you have opportunity to grow. And so that is my thoughts on the ego. There is no shame in being wrong. There's only shame in fighting for a truth and not being flexible, fighting for a truth that isn't true, trying to hold on to your truth at all costs, even if somebody else can prove you. All the arguments in the world, there's just no purpose or reason for them. Um, um, whether or not your point gets across or it doesn't get across, is not relevant to your own life. There is no reason that another person has to adopt. We each have our own life experience and we each have our own self-mastery to do. And we each have so much work on ourselves to do that why would we want to do somebody else's work for them if we can enlighten them and show them and add to their life experience? Then I almost feel like it's our responsibility to do so. But not by way of forcing. There is no forcing in that. It's just like back in the times they used to force religions on people. What are you doing? You're forcing somebody to lie to you, because somebody that believes something, really a truthful, honest belief within, that belief is unshakable. So, and if somebody has to fight for their belief and feels like they have to argue, that means that belief is not solid. Because when your belief is solid and you understand it completely and you can always back it up, first of all, with yourself, then you don't feel threatened by anybody else's belief. There is no fighting. There is no wall that comes up anytime anybody touches it. I see it a lot with religion. People that have beliefs in religion won't be willing even to hear other people's beliefs. It's like, oh, don't tell me that, don't tell me that. Oh, that's all before the word is even spoken. And I find that to be just silly. I find that to be weak. If you have to jump up and protect your beliefs and not even hear somebody else's beliefs, that means that your beliefs are not very solid, that you're not standing in them with complete belief if something is threatening it. And in any case, be willing to always change your beliefs. But one thing I do know is that we can never know. There's just the knowledge that already is in the world. You couldn't know all of that knowledge if you lived 2,000 years. I mean, think about it, all the doctors and all the knowledge that they have, and the medicine people and scientists and engineers and all the different knowledge that there is to know. I just, in the knowledge that I have in me, how could I get out to another person in my lifetime? I couldn't. And so you know that you could never know everything. So to think that you know everything, and to close off your belief system to where it's this tiny little, I see it as like a little line of belief, like a tiny little thread, is just silly. It's we only have this in this lifetime. We only have like this limited amount of time and capacity to gather information and to expand. Why would you narrow your belief system down to what you learned as a tiny child and just keep it in that area? It's like you're stopping your own expansion, you're stopping your own experience. And from what I know, from what I feel in my life, is the more knowledge I get and the more my belief system expands, the more exciting my life becomes, the more games there are to play with, the more my knowledge expands, the more I am aware and open to, the more expansion comes quicker and easier. The more I transcend, or the more I master my ego, the more my experience becomes magnificent, because I'm willing and open to hearing all sorts of different opinions and ways of being and ways of thinking and different thoughts and different ideas. And all of a sudden, in these last couple of years, opened into mysticism, which was just, it's like opening up this massive door to this whole new world. And had I been closed minded to it, which I could have very well been, well, maybe not, I guess everything would happen exactly as it happened again and again and again, wouldn't it? I think that I would have made the exact same choices in every moment that I've ever made, given the same opportunities and given the same base as I've had. I mean, the same decisions that I made, I would have made again and again and again and again. It's like we have a choice, but we don't really. It's like it's all written ahead of time, but we have a choice, but not really, because the choices that we make, we would have made again and again and again in every moment. Even the choices that you say, oh, I'm so happy I made that, or why did I make that choice? And that was something that I was able to really give myself a lot of relief with, and a lot of when I first got a divorce after I left my husband. One of the biggest sorrows that I had was, why did you stay so long? And what gave me release of that and relief of the pain was in the knowing that, had I been able to leave earlier, I would have. I had to stay that long for me to be able to rise to the point that I could have left. So I couldn't have left earlier than I did. And besides, I mean, there's so many other reasons: the children that we had and the businesses that we built, and all of the lessons that I learned, my alcoholism and getting to rock bottom in my alcoholism, and all of those things they all played a part in it. So when I really think about it, I would have always made the exact same decisions given the exact same circumstances every single time. So there is no sorrow in it. Those are the lessons that I had to get. And the truth is that I'm super blessed to have gone through all of that and to have gotten to the point that I got to, because it's like my superpower now. You when you completely go through yourself, through all of the emotions, through the depths, and you have to overcome these massive obstacles, then you feel like a superhero. That you can go, if you can go through that, you can go through anything. You see already that there is extreme strength in being soft. There's extreme strength in vulnerability. There is extreme strength in being able to overcome and master your ego. That means swallow your pride. Pride is what makes you stand up and, oh, I'm right and you're wrong, and fight for whatever it is. When you swallow your pride, it's like a mechanism that you can learn. We have all sorts of behaviors that come up when something comes up against our ego. That some people lash out, some people cry and become the victim, and some people become mad and they lash out and they have but they are all mechanisms of shutting down and not allowing whatever it is to come in. You know, if I'm the victim and I run off crying, then I don't have to listen to you anymore. If I lash out and I become an abuser, like and I lash out in fury, it's going to stop that from coming into me and threatening my belief system as well. Yeah, threatening my ego. It's not going to be, yeah, my ego isn't threatened. And I see it over and over and over. I see it almost every day. When you become aware of it, and you see it in everybody, those behaviors. Some people just take the conversation and take it elsewhere. All of a sudden they'll take like a little part of the conversation that isn't really relevant to anything, that isn't the main subject, and then they'll just start talking on that, which is also a way of taking and deferring. I don't know, my English is like taking it and changing the subject so that they don't have to listen to that part that is rubbing up against their belief system. So I'm going to tell you why I'm really excited about this today. So we got those metal detectors, and so yesterday we went to the hot springs at night. It was like I got home at 1 o'clock in the morning, something like that, and I got up this morning at 6:15, something like that. So these last couple of weeks I've been running on fumes, really. But today, so my twin ordered this machine that you can breathe underwater with. It's really cool. It's really cool. I also want to get one, but I need to. It's on my order list. I really want one. But it's where it floats on top of the water, and then it has like this thing that hooks up, and you can go diving, and it brings air down to you, I guess in a way of like an air pump, and so that you can breathe underwater. And so with metal detecting underwater, that is like the coolest thing, because it's a bummer when you're underwater and you're metal detecting and you're trying to dig something up, and you know you're getting your metal detector is beeping, and then you're trying to dig something up and you keep on having to go up for air, and so then you like save your spot with your foot. But if you're in deep water, you first of all, you can't really go in deep water because we go in with weights on us that hold us down. So you can go in deep water, but then every time you lose your place, like if you have a hit and then you have to go up for air, you lose your spot. And it's like a struggle to stay on top of the water when you have your weights on. I can, but it's like a struggle. You have to really like swim, and like it's a struggle to stay on top of water. So really, you're kind of with the way that I'm doing it with just the diving glasses and the metal detector. I have to come up every like minute. I have to come up for air, so then I save my spot. So with this thing, you can just go under and you can stay down there. It's like it has 3.5 hours battery time. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see how it works. And we're going this morning to Haifa, to the Mediterranean Sea, to start to try it out for the first time. So I'm like super excited about it. Really excited about it. I really want to get me one of those. But this month I have insurance, and I have more school supplies, and well, so thank you for watching. And yeah, this is a fun video. I'm really excited about this day. Let me just show you the Sea of Galilee. So down there, that's the Sea of Galilee. I live in this little settlement. It's called Name. Over there, that mountain that protrudes out there, that one. Oh no, it's that one, the cliff up there. That's our Bell Mountain. So my twin lives on top of that mountain. So it's like he moved in here and just moved in on top of me. I can't get away from him no matter what. When I was going through the dark night of the soul, like in the beginning, I was going through, there was just so much pain. And every time I leave the house, every time I go to the supermarket, every time I go anywhere, that is like this massive cliff that from every place in this valley you can see. So it was like he was always hanging over. So thank you for watching. I enjoy making these videos. I really appreciate it.